back. This is Help Me. I am tired. Your inner weather report. I'm your host. My name is Kanu, and today's forecast: partly successful with a 90% chance of self-doubt. Yep, we are talking about imposter syndrome. That sneaky feeling that even though you have done the work, you still don't belong. You still feel like you don't belong. Even though you've earned your seat, and you wonder when someone is going to tap you on the shoulders and say, excuse me, you're not supposed to be here. And if you're tired of carrying that weight, then, my friend, you're in the right place. Let's talk about it. And I'm going to start by asking you some questions, some honest questions. So have you been celebrated maybe in a public sense, but then you were questioning it privately? And do you sometimes feel like your success was just luck or timing or a God thing, like God doing a favor on you or something? And you say to yourself, probably this is not going to happen again. And so do you work extra hard, not to grow, but to prove you are not a fraud? And if you've whispered a yes to any of those, then you're not alone. And you're not broken. You're human. You're growing. And we're about to, put some words to it, to that inner storm. And we're about to name it and calm it at the same time. But I think starting from where it comes from is an important part of talking about it, right? So let's go back, shall we? And this is not to a memory or not to any sort of a pattern, because imposter syndrome doesn't just appear in adulthood. It formed in rooms where you were raised as a child. I always talk about the formative years, right? From birth to 18 years. So where you only celebrated when you achieved something, or where you compared to a sibling or to a cousin who always seemed to be ahead or was smarter than you. And did you grow up in a home where humility was valued, but self-expression felt like pride? So you had to deem that side of you. And then as grown men and women and professionals, we carry that silent conditioning into boardrooms, into pulpits, classrooms, marriages, into even therapy rooms. So now let me tell you a quick story from my own journey. Years ago, I worked as a change agent in a large hospital system, and my job was to help shift them from one model to another. So we were shifting to a patient-centered model. So picture this: doctors, medical assistants, nurses, even some mental health stuff. All of us would gather in a conference room for one meeting, working together to support patient wellness. And I'm the facilitator for this, right? Sounds beautiful in theory, right? Well, here's what I started noticing as a person who was running these meetings. The moment a physician or a manager or a director walked into the room, the atmosphere would shift. People who were engaged before, especially those with, positions that were a little less, like a medical assistant or a care coordinator, they would suddenly go on mute. And I'm not talking mute on a mic mute, but in their presence. They'd go quiet. They would shrink. And then, the meeting would end, and then someone will come find me and go, well, Kanu, I have an idea. I really think that patient, needs XYZ. And it sounds great. It's like a great, great suggestion. Then I'd say to them, well, why didn't you speak up in the meeting? And almost every time they'd say, oh, I didn't think anyone would listen to me. I am just a ... So I'm just a medical assistant, or I am just a care coordinator. And that word, just, that tiny sneaky word that tells us we are not enough, that, my friends, is imposter syndrome. Not in some dramatic moment, but in a regular meeting on a Tuesday. And you know what? These were the people closest to the patients. Their information, their input really mattered. They knew the patient's moods, their habits, their struggles. They were the ones who were spending a lot of time with the client, but even they didn't believe that their voice belonged in the room. So let me ask you, in what spaces do you shrink when certain people enter? Where do you silence your ideas because you have convinced yourself that they are not professional enough, or they are not spiritual enough, or they are not polished enough? It's time we notice where we mute ourselves, friends, because the moment you go silent is the moment imposter syndrome is winning. So let's talk about what that cost you to be quiet, that quiet storm. Imposter syndrome doesn't just make you feel bad. It makes you miss out. It robs you of creativity because you're constantly second guessing yourself. It steals your confidence because no matter how much you achieve, it never feels like it's enough. It holds you back from applying, submitting, pitching, launching, and even loving because you believe you're not enough or you're not ready. And here's what it can do long term. It actually creates burnout, because when you are working twice as hard just to feel enough, eventually your soul gets tired. So you will not decide to live in constant this performance mode. And that's what literally people who are in imposter syndrome are doing. They are performing. So then you ask, what can we do about it, Kanu? So let's get practical. Let's stop admiring the storm and literally start clearing the weather. So whether you are the deep feeling type or the just give it to me straight type, here are 3 things that I feel like could be very helpful to you. So keep a list of your wins, a real list on your phone, in your journal. Every win, big or small, goes on it. You know, you could say something like, I got up early to go for a walk even though I felt tired. You could say, I finished a report that was very overwhelming. I confronted a fear. That's a win, people. And let the facts override the feelings. This is what we're trying to do, to train your brain to let the facts override the feeling of imposter syndrome when you're literally not, because you're having all these wins, right? And then number 2 is say it out loud. Imposter syndrome grows in silence. So tell someone you trust, hey, I have been doubting myself. In therapy, say that to your therapist. You'll be amazed how many people whisper back to you, me too, if you're talking to a friend. And then number 3, challenge the lie. Challenge it. Write down the lie. When you tell yourself, I don't belong, write it down, you know? And then now you would write the flip side of that, which is the truth is, I have trained, I have learned, and I'm still learning, and I belong in this space. Because you do. We all do. There's no one who's like above anybody. So let me speak directly to that part of you that's exhausted from pretending. My friend, you are not a fraud. You are not here by accident. And you are not just, you're not the just person. I am just right? You're not just, you are it. And you're a culmination of experience, your calling, your training, your faith, and your favor. Somebody say amen. And yes, you still have room to grow, but growth doesn't mean you're fake. It means you're alive. So today, your internal weather report reads, clouds of doubt are breaking. Winds of truth are gaining strength. And 100% chance of belonging is moving in. You have earned your seat. And even more than that, you deserve to speak from that truth. So thank you for tuning in to help me. I am tired. The Inner Weather Report. If this episode spoke to your soul, do me a favor, share it with someone who may quietly be doubting their own voice. And as always, stay grounded, stay real, and remember to rest. Your worth isn't in what you do, it's in who you are. Till next time.